kind of a real estate guy, found all the locations, the team negotiated, the sale purchase of the buildings, we've renovated them. But in between finding a location and then opening, there's just a ton of stuff. I mean, some of it must be fun. And I know it is because some of it is fun, but some of it's just so frustrating. And everything takes longer and everything costs more. So how do you work these contingencies into your pro forma? And then how do you work the contingencies into the P&L, like the first year's P&L when you're when you're trying to get stabilized? So being a numbers guy and having to do this for the locations, I was getting pretty good, but I was still it was always wrong. I always knew the P&L was wrong. I always knew the timeline was wrong. I always knew the cost was wrong. That's just one of the things. So how do you tell me in your world what goes on?
Yeah, I mean, we're still wrong too.
Yeah.
But, we sort of start with what we call pencil test, right? You may have heard of that before, and it's approximate cost per square foot, approximately what we can make per square foot, all that kind of stuff. And then we do our best that, again, like when we get into market, meeting people, oftentimes we know some people and we'll get to know business owners and ask them questions. We'll ask them, how are things going in this market? Places where we're unsure of how it might perform. We'll dig deep and be open and honest with people and see what kind of feedback we can get. Also, in going to these towns and experiencing them, you get an idea too. Can be pretty helpful. You're not wrong. Like, the cost of doing business in the world for any business is just skyrocketing. The labor we all know about is incredibly challenging, but also, your fixed costs are we calculated that we're up almost 20% on fixed costs, and you can't translate that down to the consumer at a 20+% if you include the labor price increase, like maybe we used to with a little bit of inflation, right? So it's tough, right? What we're doing now is finding creative ways to raise and drive revenue, things we didn't used to do in the past, focused marketing efforts that we really didn't do. We're growing our marketing department. We're not just focused on social media like we used to be. So diversifying how we raise revenue, also cost savings. We're really looking deep at what is Death & Co. We spoke earlier about, what Death & Co. is versus what it was, and say, okay, well, the market challenges are telling us we need to look at a different way of doing business, right? We might need to, what's a good example? Create some standing room. We've been a no standing room allowed business for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe now we need that, or maybe we need to take a step down from how formal our service is, so we don't necessarily need food runners and busters all the time, right? So we're trying to balance this. How do you create more revenue and create cost savings without completely not being who you are? And those are all the things we're asking ourselves right now. Similarly, the size of the operation, right? So we got bigger in like square footage and how many people we could take.
Right.
And now we're going back to smaller.
Yeah. 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 Sales per square foot and efficiencies.
Yep.
I mean, insurance has gone up crazy.
Insurance has been one of the hardest things besides labor.
And then when we started 10 years ago and y'all started, sounds like 15 years ago, you could be a bar. And a matter of, our roots are as a beer bar. We were beer only for the first 2.5 years. We didn't know, we were kind of the neighborhood pub, but nowadays you have to entertain everybody. It's not enough to serve a good cocktail. There has to be a music bingo or a musician or a big concert in your backyard. It's no longer, you have to entertain. And at least that's in the markets we're at now. So
yeah, right. We're doing a lot of that too, right?
There
Finding
you go. Right.
pop-ups and activities,
Yeah.
that we can do to differentiate. And again, there's so much competition that, historically you have your watering hole. And people went to the same place all the time where they knew their name and they enjoyed whatever it may be. But now most consumers love to try everything, and there's new things popping up all the time and they want to go there. And it's far fewer and far between that somebody is visiting you on a weekly basis,
Right.
let alone a monthly basis.